Hi, this is a presentation to explain the experience I had with the design thinking process as I searched for an innovative solution for a real healthcare problem that I identified within my community. My desire to create a website to share my solution with my end users led me to the design thinking process, and I'm eager to share what I have learned. Design thinking is an idea that is supported by several different steps to accomplish an end goal. Gibbon's definition states that design thinking ideology asserts that a hands-on user-centric approach that is defined by the design thinking process and comprises 6 distinct phases. The process of design thinking follows the flow of understand, explore, and materialize. Each of the 3 categories have 6 smaller buckets that fall in line. The 6 phases are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and implement. Research is conducted in the empathize stage. The designer will imagine the goal to improve an experience for the end user. In this phase, you will talk to actual users. You will observe them to find out how they do, how they think, find out what they want, and ask what motivates or discourages them. You will find out where their frustrations come from. The goal is to gather enough information to be able to empathize with the end user. The define stage is where you will be a combination of all the research and observation. You will narrow down what the user needs and begin to outline opportunities for innovation. The ideate stage is where brainstorming begins. Crazy and creative ideas that could address the user's needs that were identified in the define stage. All ideas are acceptable and encouraged. The prototype stage is where you're going to begin to put something together to get a visual of how it's going to look. This is also the phase where you will begin to weigh out the practical versus the impractical. The test phase is where you will put your prototype in front of actual users, get their feedback. Does it meet their needs? Will it improve the way they think, they feel, or how they do their task? And then the final stage is implement. This is where the vision goes into effect and comes alive. When I began to implement the design thinking on my project in my test phase, I presented my first test to my end users. I asked them what I needed to do to meet their needs. They suggested that I needed to add jumps to a page actually explaining what the site represented. I listened to my end user and added the jumps and the corresponding pages. I followed all the principles of design thinking when I was looking to develop a solution to the critical care problem that I identified. I had to first develop empathy for the situation identified. Their situation is a lack of counseling and counseling facilities within the Boot Hill area of southeast Missouri. I then met with addicted teens to get their input on the need for counselors as they are struggling to overcome their addiction. I observed the context of their lives by sitting in on counseling sessions, and I engaged with them through interviews, and I watched and listened to them as they discussed the problem they encounter while waiting for counseling as they struggle with their day-to-day addictions. Following the empathy stage, I pulled all of my research and observations, and I was able to define why the problem exists. Once I defined the problem, I started brainstorming by throwing out a lot of what ifs. This was the ideation stage of my design thinking. I then developed a prototype by putting ideas onto paper. I submitted this prototype to a group of end users in my test phase. I polled the end users a few times to get their input on areas of strengths and weaknesses. And once I felt my testing was adequate, I implemented the website. There are some questions that may require some additional brainstorming as the project moves forward. Questions like, is there a possibility to develop a paid internship for the students? And also, are there forms and criteria that need to be developed regarding HIPAA regulations? Some questions that might come up for potential audiences are, how are you going to promote this program? Well, the program will be promoted to the students by making it part of the sign-up curriculum at the beginning of the school year. It will also be promoted through posters throughout the school. Another question might be, how do you expect to get local medical facilities to participate with the program? Well, there's going to be a committee appointed by the local healthcare agency that's going to set up meetings with local providers and facilities explaining the curriculum and the benefits to the community for participation. As I reflect back on my journey to develop this website, I am impressed with the knowledge I obtained and gained through the process. As I prepared to dive into the information guiding me to document the design thinking process, I was really pleasantly surprised to find how it related to my solution. The design thinking process asks us to empathize with the end user, define the problem, to ideate and lay out the prototype, and then test the prototype. This was in direct relation to the process I undertook as I began researching the counseling shortage. I had to empathize with the addicts. Then I was able to define the problem. This led me to laying out a prototype on paper that would address the problem in order to create a solution. When I reflect back on my prototype, I think I would conduct more research on addiction counseling. If I were to incorporate some scared straight tactics into the program, I think that this might also be beneficial to teens who may be entering into the program. I would now like to give a tour of the website that I actually created. This is the home page. This page lists the required title of the program, the Boot Hill Area Regional Occupational Program, along with the subtitle, Counseling Assistant Certification. The home page also states the real healthcare problem that was identified within the community. The explanation and representation of our prototype is also listed on the home page. My prototype will work to help bring awareness to the students who are entering the future job market. The prototype lists ways students can become trained in areas of counseling. It also speaks to the areas where families are struggling and provides information on training for students to make them aware of the areas of concern within the community. And after speaking with my end users, it was apparent that a website was available through many different forms of access would be the best way to communicate the information. Students will be able to access the website through their phones, laptops, iPad, notebooks, and PCs. And the website is designed with web design principles, with fonts that are easy to see on all devices, and the colors and images were selected to ensure that prototype is easy to read and see, even for those who may suffer from color blindness. The website is designed so that anyone that is a novice even can click on the screen and they will be directed to information pertaining to the section they are reading. My site has 6 pages, and there is a menu on the left side that directs the user to each additional page. The home page also has a grid with each of the page information. The user can click on any of the grids to access the additional information. For example, when you click on the grid, what are your plans after you graduate, you are directed to the page that speaks to helping people in your community. This page explains different ways users can help out in their own communities, and when they are ready to move on, they can access any of the menu buttons on the left. For example, when you click on the grid, Earn College Credit While in Your Senior Year, you are directed to the page that speaks to earning college credits now to help with further education. This page lets the user know they can potentially earn 6 college credit hours during their senior year of high school by participating in this program. The page also directs the user to their counselor for additional information. Again, when the user is ready to leave this page, the menu on the left allows easy access to return to any page. When you click on the grid What You'll Learn, you are directed to the corresponding page. This page speaks to the 10-month program and what is taught. Again, the user is ready to move on. They can select any of the buttons on the menu to the left. When you click on OJT, you are directed to this page. This page lists out all the different facilities within the community that are working with the program. Again, the user can reference any of the buttons on the left to move on. The home page also has a button to connect to a blog. The blog includes an overview of the design thinking process as it relates to my solution. I've included a story I heard from an end user that specifies a need for the solution. The blog also includes something I would do differently if I were to repeat the prototype experience in order to improve the solution. There is a back button at the top of the page that can direct the user back to the home page. I have also included a reference list of the different images that I have selected, and I would like to now thank you for taking the time to review my presentation.